My name is Robert Jeanne. I'm a systems technologist in the fire and security industry, and I would be classified as an alarm agent in the ordinance for the city of Chandler. And today I'm going to talk to you about a lot of the devices that can potentially cause false alarms in your home and business security systems. Okay, one item we're going to talk about today is going to be the keypads. There are different types of keypads out there. Some of these are older models and some of them are newer models, which are touch screens. Okay, as you can see, they have certain buttons on here that are panic buttons. The way these operate is you must press and hold to activate a certain type of a panic. On the touch pads, now these don't have any power on them, but when you will see an icon on here that you can touch the icon in order to activate the respective panics. Now with these, they are all going to be a press and hold. This way it helps so you do not get a false alarm on these panics. Some keypads such as this one may have two buttons that you have to press and hold. And again, on other keypads, it's just one button. But in all keypads or touch pads, you have to remember that they're all a press and hold to activate the panics. There's different types of batteries, as you can see. There's large ones, small ones, and even tinier ones. When you have a low battery, this is a system low battery, okay? You will get some type of indication on the keypad that you have a low battery. Whenever you get this indication, it's important for you to change out your batteries. Usually most of these batteries will last approximately 5 to 7 years. But when you get a low battery, it's important to either change out the battery yourself or have them changed out by a technician. If you do not do this, the system may at certain times behave abnormally, which can cause false alarms. In our next section, we're going to talk about transformers. As you can see here, we have different types of transformers for different types of security systems. It doesn't really matter the colors, although there are different colors for different systems, but these are what power up your security system. Sometimes some people have black ones, some have white, and some have beige. Now in our previous discussion, we talked about how important batteries were, and when they get low, you need to replace them or have them replaced. If you do not replace your batteries, your backup batteries, a transformer that's supposed to look like this will start looking like this. Once the windings start burning up, you can potentially have the system behave abnormally. And this is why it's important that when you have a system low battery, you have that replaced. I have a glass break detector here. Most of them look pretty much like this. Some of the newer ones now, they look round, like a smoke detector almost, but they're glass break detectors. Of course, glass break detectors are designed to pick up the thump and the crash of glass breaking. Basically, it's just an electronic ear. Now, what can cause potential false alarms with glass break detectors? If we have surround sound on our television sets at home and we watch an action movie, the high-pitched sound of glass breaking or cars crashing or airplanes crashing can cause glass break detectors to activate. If we have large glass and something outside the house hits it like a bird, it can potentially activate a glass break detector. If we drop glass or a pot on the floor, we can also activate the glass break detectors as well. So most glass break detectors nowadays are adjustable, and usually when they're installed at the highest sensitivity. If you're having multiple issues with the glass break detector activating, you can have a technician come out, and they can reduce the sensitivity to medium and then to low if needed. So glass break detectors nowadays are adjustable, but you have to remember wherever they're placed, it can potentially cause false alarms with respect to some sounds in the room. So sometimes it might be put in a different room for one reason or another. Okay, in this next section we're going to talk about panic buttons and key fobs. I just have two of them here. This is a panic button and this is a key fob. The operation of these is you have to press and hold to activate them to activate a panic. The same thing with the key fob. Some of them have a little button on the side that's designed for a certain type of panic, whether it's medical, fire, or police. These are designed so that you have to press and hold so you don't accidentally just hit them and activate and cause a potential false alarm. In our next section, we're probably going to talk about the most notorious device for false alarms, and that's motion detectors. Motion detectors are designed to be placed between 7.5 and 8 feet and designed to look out about 35 feet and pick up motion in a room. So traditionally you may see them in a corner of a room. So because they pick up motion, they have a tendency of having false alarms from other objects other than people. For example, pets, any balloons that might be flying or hanging around. Sometimes people have different plants, or a fan could move something that's just some kind of a flag or something another. Advertisements that are used in businesses. And so those items can potentially activate motion detectors and cause a false alarm. So one of the things that a lot of the newer motion detectors have is called a pet immunity. And what that means is it will not pick up an animal up to a certain weight limit to cause a false alarm. But remember, pet immunity only means for an animal with all 4 paws on the floor. That does not mean you could put a 10-pound cat on a table or on a sofa and the motion detector won't pick them up. It's still possible, it can happen. So you have to look at the environment and figure out, is it my cat? Is it some other type of animal? Even though it may be, for example, an 80-pound pet immunity detector, and I have 3 40-pound dogs, if they all run together, that's 120 pounds of movement, which can still activate the motion detector. Now, in some security systems, not all of them, one of the features they have is called cross-zoning. And cross-zoning is where you must have 2 motion detectors in 2 different rooms. And both motion detectors have to activate within a certain time frame for both of them to go into alarm. This also reduces false alarms as well. And if you're not sure about whether your system has that, you can have a service tech come out and find out if you do have what's called a cross-zoning feature. So that also helps with false alarms. In certain cases, sometimes a service technician will take a motion detector and turn it upside down so that the beams go upward as opposed to downward, and creates a pet alley for dogs and cats and other animals to run under, so they don't pick up the animals, but they can also pick up the torso of an individual. So there's other configurations that can be used for motion detectors to help reduce false alarms. It's also important to make sure that you keep these dusted off. A lot of times if a little tiny spider walks across that lens, that's the size of you 30 feet away to the motion detector. And you can wind up having false alarms. In certain businesses and whatnot, you'll see cobwebs in certain areas, or even in your home up at the corner. It can cause false alarms because there might be a little spider that's actually walking across the lens late in the evenings or at night. Sometimes they can even get inside the motion detectors as well. So sometimes a technician will come out and blow them out with canned air. So that's one thing you need to keep in mind with motion detectors. Some of the newest items, newest security systems can use what are called image sensors. Not all security systems use image sensors. An image sensor is the same thing as a motion detector, but it'll also take a snapshot picture of the room it's in and it'll send it to your smartphone. Now again, remember, not all security systems support image sensors. Now the nice thing about this is if it activates, it'll take a picture, send it to your phone, and then you can determine whether it's a person inside the house or if it's a cat or dog or something to that degree. So when the security company calls you and asks you about a potential false alarm on this device, you can tell them, no, it's just the cat. The only potential problem with image sensors, as the image may not get to your phone before the central station calls you for a false alarm. So there can be a bit of a drawback with having these, but they are quite popular because they can confirm what's actually in the room causing a false alarm. But if you want to know if you can get one of these, you have to check with your service tech to find out if your security system does support this. Okay, in this next section we're going to talk about smoke detectors. I just happen to have one right here. The purpose of these smoke detectors, as opposed to the ones you have in your home or businesses, as well, not in businesses, but just in homes, is these are the ones that will enunciate to the central station that your house is on fire. The other ones that you usually have in your homes, those are building smoke detectors. They're designed just to tell you the house is on fire so you can get out so you don't die in a fire. So with these monitored smoke detectors, they're usually placed within outside of 36 inches of a fan blade or a supply or return for your air conditioning systems. As you may notice, when you have to replace your filters, there's a lot of dust on those filters. Same thing with fans. Even though they move, they will accumulate dust on the blades. If your smoke detector is close to those, you'll start getting dust inside your smoke detector. Another placement issue is that we keep these at least 36 inches away from the bathrooms, because the steam from a shower can actually make these go into alarm. Also, you want to keep these away from at least 36 inches away from any entry doors to the house, because you can get more dust in, especially during the monsoon season. So one of the things we always recommend is, especially after the monsoon season, is get some canned air and blow out the smoke detector to keep all of the potential dust inside them. If you get too much dust inside a smoke detector, you will get false alarms. Unfortunately, if the canned air doesn't work, the smoke detector will have to be replaced. It's always important to have these checked once a year by yourself, or you can have a service tech come out and check them to make sure that they're working properly. But one of the things you always have to remember is you want to make sure you don't get any water, steam, for example, or dust to accumulate in a smoke detector, or else you'll get potential false alarms. Okay, in this next section, we're going to talk about window/door contacts. These can cause a lot of false alarms as well. I have a couple of them here. These are called surface-mounted contacts. A lot of times you'll see this on your doors or windows. And these are designed with one to be the magnet and one to be the contact, and you'll see a wire going to it. They're designed to be within 3/8 of an inch away from each other. Once the contacts are farther than that, they will activate. If you have this on a window, one of the potential problems with windows is they don't always close straight. Sometimes the mechanism on the side breaks or it's falling apart, and there's too much play in the window. And especially during the monsoon season, the windows shake and you can actually have potential false alarms. So that's one thing to keep in mind when you're looking at your contacts on your windows. Make sure that they're lined up, not way off like so, or too far apart. 3/8 of an inch is a good distance to have maximum. Sometimes you don't even see your contacts. These are recessed units. Sometimes these are inside the door frame or inside the window frame. And so it's the same principle. You'll have this in the frame, and then you'll also have a magnet. And these you want to have within 3/8 of an inch as well. Again, if you have too much movement in the windows, these will not be lined up and you can potentially have false alarms. So sometimes a technician can come out and manipulate these to potentially reduce false alarms. Sometimes you may have to have the window serviced because there's too much play in the tracks. Okay? This is another type of contact. It's called a plunger contact. Okay? And what this one does is when you close a window, it pushes down on the button. Again, if the window does not close properly, you can get a potential false alarm because this plunger is not being pushed down all the way. Another type is called a roller ball. Okay? When you close the door, it pushes down on the little little ball or the roller ball, and it makes a contact. Again, if you have a door is too loose, the hinges are not right, there's too much play in the door is warping on one side or the other, and it doesn't make contact, this plunger may not be pushed down all the way, which can cause false alarms as well, especially when the wind blows. So that can cause false alarms on your plungers. Certain people have wireless systems and they use a wireless transmitter. The wireless transmitters use a magnet just like the hardwire ones. It's the same principle. You want to keep these within 3/8 of an inch. Now in some of the newer technologies that are available, there are called wide gap transmitters that are available. These can go up to almost 1.5 inches away. So sometimes if you're having false alarms on a window with a security system, a technician can come out and put in a wide gap transmitter to help reduce false alarms on that window. But remember, If you have too much play, even this may not help you. You may have to have the window serviced. So these are the things that you want to keep in mind when it comes to false alarms on a lot of the windows and door contacts. And in our last section, the most important part of your security system, your manual. This is the most important part of your security system because it tells you how everything operates. It's important that when you get a new security system installed, make sure that you get one of these from the installer. Most of them have them. On a lot of the newer security systems, they have them online. Even the older security systems, you can find the manuals online. It's very important to read your manual to understand how your security system works. While reading your system, you may find terminology that may not make sense to the average person. If you ever have questions, write them down. Call your security company. Most security companies have customer tech support, which you can phone and ask them what these terms mean, and they can explain it to you so that you understand how to use your security system. It's important that you also teach everybody in the house how to use a security system as well. The biggest percentage of false alarms are done by human error. It's important to learn how your security system works so that your security system can work best for you. Thanks for your time.